you'd have 3 people typing the same document with as many carbon paper, pieces of carbon paper as possible. So each one would be making an original in 3 or 4, and then you'd proofread one. They'd proofread one against the other. Very primitive, but that's what you had to do as you were growing.
They would have what we called back then onion skin, which was the carbon that went in the type, under the primaries. And that's where you got your copies.
We had this document where our client was acquiring another company for stock. And we had a master document we start with, but when you'd make changes, you'd type out a paragraph and then paste that paragraph on the paragraph it was replacing. So the document ends up being thick, but that's because each page could be 3 layers thick because there wasn't any word processing. So that's the way you did it. It was copy and paste, literally. Lots of Scotch tape and typing paper.
Our first computer system, and really the first one in the city, if not the state, and the Wang system. It's ancient today, but it was really cutting edge at the time.
Whenever we would have a discussion or something and we were telling people things, they'd say, "I'll wang you about that later." Wang me later. And everybody, that was commonly said.
Hey, wang. You would have people that would word processing centers that would create documents overnight. And you have staff personnel that would show up at, like a third shift in an auto plant, right?
Paul Trigg hated when he saw what I wrote because there were spelling errors in it. Today it's so easy because you have all these helpful devices. Of course, we didn't have those then. Secretaries used to cut and paste, and they were so proficient at it. You could never see anything. You can never believe it was done. If they made a mistake, keyboarding, they had the original and 3 copies they had to fix.
I remember the first Xerox machine. This is remarkable. This piece of paper gets kicked out, and it was sort of a funny kind of paper, and you had to make a copy of it right away because in about 3 days, the print would just disappear from the copy from the fax machine.
Your instant sort of notice provision was always faxed when we first started, and then you didn't PDF things as being treated as actually real for really quite a while, since well into the 2000s before that was sort of the norm. So for a long time it was like, how do I get an original somewhere? And the only way to do that was the FedEx process.
You knew the FedEx guy, right? Because the FedEx guy was somebody who took your work away and brought your work to you. And I don't know who the FedEx guy is now. In fact, I've never seen the FedEx guy.
I mean, can you imagine the current Dykema law firm with its multiple offices if there were not word processing and email, and it wouldn't be possible, would it? You don't know if the technology drove the growth or the growth drove the technology or somewhere in between.
You now had offices around the country. You needed technology to deal with that. You needed the opportunity to manage, the financial aspects of that. And so part of that was not only finding merger targets, but also building the infrastructure to support that growth. It was an adjustment, particularly for some of our older partners who grew up in an atmosphere that was changing daily.
You have to always be willing to keep learning and understand the new developments that are going on, and that's how you keep getting better and you keep growing.
The practice is sped up tremendously. And as a result of that, it forces us to do things differently. Forces us to talk about technology. The sheer speed at which our clients need things done has resulted in us having to move a lot faster and the practice move a lot faster. When the firm makes money, the firm invests in new technology, AI. It invests in new computers. It invests in new offices. It invests in talent. It invests in, all kinds of things that are are really important to the long-term development of leadership in the law firm.
Today, we have all the new entrants in the industries looking to Dykema for the reason that, GM, Ford, Chrysler looked at Dykema 30 years ago. We take the time and the effort to learn the new technologies, to stay atop and abreast of the legal issues.
There's a willingness to kind of think outside the box, not just do the normal way we've always done it, but is there a different way to approach this? And I think we're going to see a lot of that as we go forward and we watch how AI comes into the practice of law and how our clients adapt to the use of AI. And they're going to be looking to us as to how we use AI, how we can help guide them in the use of AI.
But it's a tricky business and it continues to change. And so you got to invest. You have to be profitable in order to invest.